Hello, everyone. I, Shweta Dubey, welcome you in Atlanta Dunya series Parikrama. Today, I have a very special guest. He is a well-known person, well-known face in our community. He is a dedicated family person, and he's very professional. He's well-educated, and I want to welcome Mr. John Bradberry. Hello, Mr. John.
Hi, Shweta.
How are you doing today?
Doing great, doing great. Just it's good to be with you.
So, Mr. Bradberry, I'm gonna let you tell all of our audience, all of our viewers, tell us some more about you that I don't know and people you want people to know. Tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm running for mayor of Johns Creek. I will be the next mayor of Johns Creek, Lord willing. And I bring a breadth and depth of life experience to the role of mayor. And so, for example, I served honorably in the United States Marine Corps for 8 years. I've run my business for almost 20 years. Before I was elected to my current 4-year term as a council member, I ran and started Preserve Johns Creek to preserve our residential character and protect our quality of life. And before that, I was president of my homeowner association. And so I'm just really wanting to bring that experience, that knowledge, and my vision to help lead us into the future. And, it's a very important time in the life of our city. And so I'm really looking forward to the challenge.
Very well said, Mr. John. I can see you mentioned landscaping. I can see John's Creek looking even prettier than it is already now.
It is a beautiful place.
Right. Mr. John, so tell us why you are running for mayor of Johns Creek. Why Johns Creek?
Well, this is my home. This is our community. And, it's very near and dear to me. And I just want to make it the best that it can be. And so, we have got what has been a good city. But I know that we can make it a even greater community. And so that's really what I'm focused on, is making Johns Creek the best that it can be, and seeing what can we do to really take us to the next level.
Wow. And we take it to the next level and the sky is the limit. And let me ask you, you mentioned community and talk about it a lot on your website. I was going through your website and I saw it's a very impressive website. And you talk a lot about community on your website. Why is community so important to you?
Well, so, first let me say that I'm very grateful that Johns Creek was able to become a city 15 years ago. It gave us some independence and control from Fulton County. It gave us zoning, code enforcement. We have our own police department and fire department. And those have all been, I think, big advantages. But, in a way, if you think about it, you can have not necessarily a home. And likewise, you can have a city and not necessarily a community. And so I really want to foster that greater sense of community in Johns Creek. I think that we can build a greater sense of identity, more connectedness, a better sense of place. And these are things that I think can have a positive effect on quality of life for our residents. And, I think that we want to have a community where you know your neighbors and you know other people in the community. And for example, the children, we want our children to have fond memories of their time growing up here in Johns Creek. And hopefully one day when they go to start their own families, hopefully they'll return and want to do that in Johns Creek.
So, Mr. John, I see you are coming from Johns Creek and you well wish about the area and you want to do so much. But what about the Indian community? What kind of role can Indian American community play in enriching the social and political scene in Johns Creek?
So, First off, in so many ways, they already are. They already have. It's they're already, I think, a very important part of the tapestry of the community. And I really think that politically, we've already seen several candidates of Indian background run for council. Haven't been elected yet, but I'm really hopeful that this year we're going to see our first Indian American council member here in Johns Creek. I'm very hopeful, and I think that'll happen. And so socially, I think that there is just a lot of opportunity for us to do more together. So, for example, one thing that I see is that, the Indian community, the Indian people, the Indian culture is very rich and vibrant. And, it shouldn't just be a matter of international festival in Johns Creek, but rather, what can we do to learn from each other and gain from, all the things, the benefits of that culture, throughout the year in different community events. And, so for example, I know that there are a great number of very active, engaged people in the Indian community. They, are very social. And so one of the things that I think would be a great benefit, not just to the Indian community, but really to the entire Johns Creek, would be for us to have a large community center, someplace that we could have large gatherings of people, whether it's parties, weddings, celebrations. And those celebrations, certainly, whether it's Diwali or Holi, those things should certainly be, celebrated in any of our city facilities. And, as a matter of fact, those, especially Diwali, should be observed and celebrated by the city of Johns Creek in some form or fashion. So there are just a lot of opportunities, I think, for both the Indian community to become more engaged, but also for the larger community to become more understanding and educated on the different parts of the Indian history and culture. And, we're already seeing some of that. For example, I've become very familiar with cricket, which I never was before. I've actually learned some of the nuances of the game and learning to appreciate it more and more as I learn more. And so, we will be making more of a effort to have cricket programming as part of Johns Creek. And certainly the Indian community, I think, will play a leading role in that. But, I just really want to see us be one people, one community, and enjoy one another's different cultures.
But do you have any plans like to proactively engage our Indian American community?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I would be able to do as mayor is I have an executive assistant. And one of the things that I would task that person with is to be a liaison with the Indian community so that, I know better about what, events and concerns are important to them, but also so that we can communicate, things that we're looking at, things that we're looking at doing as initiatives and priorities, and just having the best communication we can. And, for example, we have so many Indian medical professionals here in Johns Creek, and health and wellness is a strategic initiative of the city where we would really like Johns Creek to be known as the best city in America for health and wellness. I think that, if we have the right kind of partnership between the mayor and our medical professionals, I think that we could really take Johns Creek far in that direction. And that would certainly be a big benefit to both the residents' quality of life, but also could be a competitive advantage for us in attracting different businesses to Johns Creek. And so there's just a lot of opportunities. There's just so much untapped potential.
Nicely said. I see that your plans are, well put together, and I see you're thinking a lot about the Johns Creek community, Indian American community, and you are looking at a better Johns Creek. But I just want to ask, and I just want to hear more from you. You say that you want to make Johns Creek the best it can be. What do you mean? We're looking at the larger picture now.
Okay. So a little bit like I pointed out before, it's great to have a city, but I think it would be even better to have just this really strong, tight community that's connected. And so building greater community is one of my top priorities. My top three priorities are safety first, building greater community, and then forward together. And on building greater community, I think that's the key thing that we have an opportunity to really differentiate Johns Creek. And so some examples. So I would like to see us build greater community in the areas of, physically, socially, economically, really tapping into our human capital, and of course, a town center. And so physically, that would be things like expanding our network of sidewalks and trails so that it's easier for people to get to their neighbor's house or to a shopping center, park, schools, and just getting outside to enjoy the beautiful Johns Creek and getting exercise. Socially, I want to see us have more events, in more parts of the city, engaging more people. I think that we have an opportunity to really diversify the kinds of programming and events that we have. And so like in this area, for example, I don't think it would be, let me say it this way. I think it would be great if maybe one day we had a Bollywood concert or event, and represent all the different parts of Johns Creek. And then economically, we have, just so many strip centers. Our retail is very dated. I think there's an opportunity for the mayor to really communicate how much we would like to see flexibility given to property owners so that they can adapt and innovate to make their shopping centers more like mini community centers, where they can be more of an asset for, rather than just transactional retail, where you just drive up, go in, buy something and leave, more experiential, where you go there and maybe there are activities for the entire family. There's green space. And so there are events and things that actually help bring people together socially, and not just for shopping. And so that's something I think would be a big benefit to not only the property owners, but also the surrounding neighborhoods. And then in terms of human capital, kind of like we talked about earlier, we have so much untapped potential. Johns Creek is known as a prosperous community, but also one of the best educated communities. And so we have very talented people here in Johns Creek. I would really like to tap different individuals for participation in different task forces, boards, and so forth, so that we can have community members helping solve community problems. And, it's not always about solving problems. Sometimes it's just about celebrating some of the great things that we have going on here. For example, we have all these talented young people. And as much as I've enjoyed seeing some of the artwork that's been from people that we've had flown in from around the world through Leadership Johns Creek, and they've done a great job. Those are beautiful pieces of art. I do think that why not have a competition among our different students in art classes to suggest what their designs would be for a mural or a sculpture, and what would lead more to a kid being, invested in their community than being able to point to something that, they knew that they had a hand in creating. And so finally, the town center, Johns Creek was carved out of unincorporated Fulton County. And so we don't have a natural downtown. But I do think that we will have a town center, and it is something that I will make sure happens while I'm mayor. I will work to make it as vibrant as possible, but I'll also work to make sure that it's to scale and that it's in keeping with the character of Johns Creek, so that it remains an asset and an amenity that adds to the quality of life for our residents here in Johns Creek. And I think that once we get the town center, I think that that's going to, again, do a lot to help establish a better sense of community, sense of place, and sense of identity. But I also think it's a place where a lot of people will like to hang out and have a good time, whether it's to, hopefully eat, drink, be merry, maybe let their kids play and, have fun.
You said something about safety, protect and defend our quality of life. Sounds like you think it is threatening Johns Creek, is it?
I think that it is always going to be a priority of mine to make sure that we are being vigilant in preserving our residential character and protecting our quality of life. That's why I started Preserve Johns Creek. I think that, we've done a pretty good job of stopping some of the development that was not adding a lot of value, that was not really doing a lot to increase the value or benefits to the community. And so now it's time for us to really start looking forward as to how do we proactively build and develop Johns Creek in the future. And I just want to make sure that we do that in a way that's very smart, that we have selective growth that is, again, going to add to the community. And, it's, if you have development that happens too quickly or is too dense or is not appropriate for a particular area, I think that it can damage the quality of life and it can damage the community. And so I just think it's important that we stay aware of that potential and just always make sure that we're trying to find the right balance.
Now that we seem to be moving beyond COVID, we think we are moving beyond COVID. I don't know, maybe new variants are coming. I don't know, but we would love to think that we are moving beyond COVID in the United States. What changes do you expect going forward from here?
Well, like you said, there is the Delta variant, and we've got to keep a close eye on that. But, luckily we do now have the vaccines and people are making use of those. And so I think that's great in terms of empowering individuals to take more control over their own lives. But when you look at what the effects of the pandemic were, I think for me, it became obvious that we have, a lot of people that were making the commute into Atlanta to go to work in a high-rise office tower. And because of the pandemic, a lot of those companies said, that they're willing to let their employees work from home. And a lot of people did that and were very successful doing it. And the companies realized that, hey, we can save money and get just as much productivity out of our employees. And what that situation forces us to do is really ask ourselves a question. What are the effects going to be on Johns Creek? Well, I think there are a couple of things for us to keep in mind. One, should we be investing in road projects that are going to be more geared towards, encouraging people to commute and use Johns Creek as a cut through on their way to Atlanta? Or should we be focused on those projects that are designed to better encourage or better enable people to efficiently move around the city of Johns Creek? And so, that is something that we want to make as easy as possible, make it as convenient for people that live in Johns Creek to get to their stores and their schools and things. And the other thing from a ramification standpoint that we have to think about as a result of COVID, if we have a large number of people that no longer need to be in Atlanta for a daily commute, if they can, work at home, then that means that they can basically live anywhere, or they have a lot more freedom. And so why then Johns Creek? So why would you live in Johns Creek versus, say, South Forsyth, where maybe you could get more home for your money, or you could pay less taxes? And of course, the schools in South Forsyth, we all know, are getting better and better. I mean, obviously Johns Creek has the best schools, but we can't deny that South Forsyth, their schools are getting better and better. And so I think it's a question of value proposition. we really have to make sure that the value of living in Johns Creek is not only high, but that it's really no question as to where someone would want to live. That Johns Creek is a place to be, that there's no better quality of life, and that, you know, we're the safest community. We've got these great schools, we've got great neighborhoods. You know, we, for example, have been number 8 in the country nationally as ranked by the CDC for health. And, you know, of course, I would love to see us shoot for number 1 in the country. So there are just all these things that I think we just have to make it clear that the value of living in Johns Creek is very, very high. Encourage, continue to draw young families to start a life here in Johns Creek. And that's just going to help make sure that Johns Creek remains a very desirable place to live. And in turn, you know, keep the quality of the schools high and help make sure that we're going to remain a very safe place to live.
Very good. I love the answer that you said in your answer that, you know, we are best schools are there, but we are making it even better. And that's the way to do it. That's the way to improve our, we all would love to think how better we are, but there's always a possibility to improve. And I really like that answer. And I would love to keep talking. You know, I want more and more questions to ask and more to hear from you. But, you know, time is, the clock is ticking, and I'm kind of running out of the time. So before we had to wrap up this recording, let me ask you one more question, and I feel it's very important that I hear the answer from you. You say, when you are elected as a mayor of Johns Creek, what accomplishment would you most likely to be known for?
Good question. So I don't know if you've seen any of our signs, but we talk about Forward Together. And the reason for that is, I don't know about you, but when I turn on the TV news, it seems like there's so many people in the media and politicians that they're just trying to divide everybody. They just really seem like they're intent on stirring up negative emotions so that we don't feel like that we are neighbors, and we cannot let that happen. I just feel so strongly about America. You know, it has not been a perfect history, but we were founded with certain ideals like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. All men are created equal. We were guaranteed individual rights by the Constitution. And these are things that are just fundamental to this country. And so it's not a matter of background or, you know, country of origin. It's really just a matter of, do you believe in certain fundamental ideals of the country? And the way this comes back to Johns Creek, I think it's very similar. You know, we are the most diverse city in Georgia. It's a beautifully diverse community, but we're all basically here for the same reasons, I think. Whether it's for yourself or you and your family, you know, you're really looking for the best educational opportunities for your children. You want a safe place to live. You want a high quality of life. And, you know, people have been able to find that here in Johns Creek. And I just think that whatever our issues or whatever challenges we have, we're going to do a much better job of tackling those things and doing it successfully if we can just do it united as one people and one community. And so I really appreciate the fact that we have you know, this very unique community where, you know, my children get to experience so many different people, and I just want that to be an asset, never to be it. And so I would like to be known as a mayor that really helped to build greater community, help bring people together, and just really tried to unite us. And that to me would be the ultimate honor, to be known for that.
Very nice, Mr. Bradberry. I feel very proud I feel very, very honored to have you here today and talk to us. And we wish you all the best from all of our Atlanta Dunia team.
Thank you so much. Thank you to Atlanta Dunya. And, if anyone would like to get in touch with me, feel free to contact me through our website, johnbradberry.com. And it's just been great to be with you. And I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.